Well, is it war? Israeli Defense Forces bombing dozens of Iranian positions inside Syria in retaliation for rocket attacks against Israel in the Golan Heights, carried out by Iran's elite Quds forces. Israel sources telling Fox Business that their Iron Dome defense system, you can see the little spots in the air going off, that's what it is. That's what prevented the Iranian rockets from doing a lot of damage. But will it all escalate? Here now is Rebeccah Heinrichs, a senior fellow at the Hudson Institute. Rebeccah, it's beginning to look more and more like war. How would you define it?
No, certainly this is what war looks like. I also make a point, too, that Israeli Iron Dome missile defense system you just pointed out, the American taxpayers should be proud of that because we funded a lot of that. That's a cooperative program with the Israelis, and it just goes to show you that that missile defense system was worth every penny, and we need to do more for that as well. But it is looking a lot more like war, and remember, it's the Iranians that are the aggressors in this instance. The Israelis are defending themselves. The Israelis are striking back and taking out some of these Iranian military facilities that are in Syria, and the American President Trump, is not calling on the Israelis to exercise restraint.
No.
He has their back. The American government has made clear that we understand the Israelis are in the right and the Iranians are in the wrong.
Now, this has all been brewing for a while as Iran essentially took over Lebanon. That's what's been happening. All the area around Israel is being taken over by a lot of either direct Iranian forces or people that are sympathetic to Iran, like the Hezbollah forces. But I'm wondering if this particular strike had anything to do with President Trump pulling out of the Iran deal.
No, I don't think it's related to that. If anything, the U.S. government had intelligence of Iranian aggression or, forthcoming Iranian aggression, and that just fueled the American government to make their decision to withdraw from the JCPOA, the Iran deal. But the Iranian aggression has been going on for a long time, which is why that was one of the major problems with the Obama administration negotiating the Iran deal. Is it empowered the regime, it legitimized the regime, and so it enabled them to continue this aggression with more cash.
Well, I just felt like it was a wounded animal that was striking back, and they were wounded by the fact that they're going to have a lot less cash than they used to because of the U.S. pulling out of the Iran deal. But let me move on to what happens with the U.S. as this thing escalates. Whether we get sucked in is a big question. And Vice President Cheney was talking on FBN earlier today. He spoke about the U.S. role in the region. Let's play the clip.
We can't afford to turn our back and walk away and say, well, it's nasty business. We're not going to be involved anymore.
It is nasty business, but should we be involved?
Well, I think we have to have Israel's back, that's for sure. And now, depending on what that looks like, the American people have to support this. We've tried to be involved in the Middle East before, and it hasn't turned out so well. There hasn't borne a lot of fruit. And
President Trump, by the way, before he became president, talked about that endlessly, about how the U.S. shouldn't get sucked into stuff over there.
Only if the military objectives are achievable and we understand the political ends and they are achievable. And so I think the American people are willing to get behind an American effort, if we are confident that we understand the objectives and they are achievable. But we're not going to get entangled in a war that's not winnable.
Rebeccah, very quickly, I got to talk about a Trump tweet that came out this morning. 5 most wanted leaders of ISIS just captured. It's really piqued our interest. I was thinking immediately of Baghdadi, the guy who essentially started ISIS. Is he, do you think, among those 5?
Well, I don't know, but I will say, you got to wonder if any of these guys were some of the folks that the Obama administration released in exchange for bird doll.
Good point.
So I don't know the identities, but kudos to the Trump administration again for getting a handle on these guys, for capturing them. And, it's just another victory in the foreign policy of the Trump administration that it doesn't get a whole lot of credit for. But it's been a good week for American foreign policy.
Zero credit on some networks, by the way. Rebeccah Heinrichs, good to see you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.